All right, one of the first things we have to do before we use the next tool is to measure the thickness of our wood. So there's my jointed face, the clean face that we've done already. I'm going to clamp this in my vise here. And if you notice here, when I measure, this tape measure has some pretty major interference here as far as how we can read our tape measure. It's really difficult. When I get out to the 12-inch mark, it starts to get easier to read because we get into only 16ths and not 32nds. So what I want to do today is I want to burn a foot. So I'm burning a whole foot here because then it's easier to read. And I'm putting the 12-inch line right on that clean edge. And I'm counting here all the way through. And it looks like I have an inch here plus 1, 2, 3, 4. 4/16. Since we're divided into 16ths, I have 4/16, which is reduced to 1/4. So that thickness right there is 1.25 inches. All right, I'll remember that. I'll write that down, 1.25 inches. Let's measure a couple other places, though. Let's measure down here some. Sometimes it can measure differently for us. So let's put the 12-inch line right on the edge, and boom. This one's about 1.25 inches also. So I'll circle that. All right. And let's go up to the very top here. And we usually measure it in 3 places so we don't miss anything. And this one is 1 5/16 inches. So I'm glad I measured there because that is, remember this was 1 4/16 inches reduced to 1.25 inches, but this one is 1 5/16 inches. So this end is thicker. So I'm going to mark my wood. The thickest point is 1 5/16 inches. That's my thickest part. Now I can go over to the planer and do some work. All right, welcome to the planer. Great tool to use. We're going to use it for step 3 in our project, which is plane to thickness. Looking at your notes, it's used to make your wood uniform thickness. General safety, feed the wood with the grain. We've talked about the grain quite a bit here. So the grain is going to be going into the planer at 90 degrees to the cutter head. The cutter head is going this way here. Our grain is going this way. That makes a 90-degree angle. Boom, boom. Okay, that's a test question. 90 degrees to the cutter head. Measure accurately to set the depth of cut properly on the planer. That's really, really important. And I did that work just a few seconds ago and I measured all the different parts here. And I found that the thickest part of my wood is 1 5/16. We'll keep that in mind when we're ready for the planer. 4 ways to set the depth of cut. This is so important because that's all you'll be doing on here is setting how much this table is close to the blades. The blades are located underneath here on top of the tool today instead of on the bottom like the joiner was. All over the table and show those to you now. So we're looking on the underside of where we just were. And of course, this is where the blades are. You can see them. They look pretty similar to the joiner blades. These are kickback, anti-kickback fingers, so they'll let you go, the wood go in one way, but not come out the other. This is a feed roller, and this will grab your wood and feed it into the blades, so you don't have to do a whole lot of work here. And then the back ones are the out feed rollers, and those grab the wood and pull them out. So that's the whole setup. Let me go ahead and turn it on so you can see what it looks like here. Our main world is going to be located right here to turn the machine on and off, okay? So it says main motor here. That's how we turn it on. And then this is an emergency stop and a stop for the machine too. I don't love the design on this, but it's not that hard to use. To turn it on, I'm pushing the main motor. To turning it off, I have to just lightly tap on the emergency stop. Okay? If you happen to push the emergency stop too hard, it's going to lock in the lock position. And it's going to look like that. You can see the difference. And then we can't do anything to the machine. The machine won't start. The machine, table up and table down, will not go up and down. Nothing will work. So if that happens, just pull the emergency stop out. Again, to turn it off, it's just a slight tap to it. That's usually enough to turn it off. This guy right here is the depth wheel. If we are going for a very, very specific amount here, if you see right here, it says down 1 revolution is 1/32 and up is 1/32. Right now this wheel spins pretty freely. So what you have to do is you have to push this wheel in until it engages. And when it engages and you get it to turn, then you go ahead and turn it. And 1 revolution is 1/32, and then back is down 1/132. So the table goes up, okay? And table goes down. We only use that when we want to make very small adjustments on the machine, less than 1/16 of an inch. And that's our main goal here, is to adjust this table to the height that we need so that the cutters get just enough to cut off what wood it needs to without cutting too much, or too little for that matter. So table up will get you kind of in an area close. But as you can see here, the numbers will start changing as I'm pushing table up. Let's see how close we can get it to 6 inches. Oh, I went too far. Let's go down. Nope, not enough, or too much. Nope. So you can see here, it's kind of hard to use table up and table down to get it close. So this is mainly for big chunks. We just want to get it kind of close for us, or we want to clean the machine and get the machine clean and lower the table. All right, so that's one way. The second way, of course, is I'm going to spin the wheel on the side. I just showed you that. I'm pushing it in, and you can see the numbers are changing, but it's taken me a long time to do that, okay? The third way is to use this pad here, and it's really, really easy to use. 3 inches, let's say, okay? There's a 4-step process. Let's go over that now. The first step you're going to do is going to push the program button because you want to program the machine. Program. This blinks telling you want to type in a number. 3.0, that's 3 inches, okay? Then we want to go ahead and push return until we're all done with typing in numbers. That's the return button. And then you see the start button flashing at you, so go ahead and push start. Now that's not starting the machine. That's just getting the table, and you can see the table's going up by itself, and the wheel's turning. Okay, it's doing all by itself and getting it right to 3 inches, and so that's a really nice way of getting it to where you want it to be. So that's called programming the machine. The last way is with presets. On top of the machine, I've not only put the directions on how to program it, but I've also put some preset numbers that we'll use, and I've also put a decimal equivalent to normal sizes. So like, in other words, 13/16 is 0.8125. Okay. So let's say I wanted 7/8. I would push number 8 and then start. Let's push number 8, and the start is flashing at you, and it should go to 875. Boom, ready to go. So that's 4 ways to change the height of the table for the thickness of wood you're being cut. Let's go back to our steps, and then we'll go ahead and set that for a piece of wood. All right, number 4, never cut more than 1/16 of an inch. The maximum depth to cut we'll make is 1/16 at a time. So if we wanted this piece of wood to be really thin, we would have to take step by step by step by step and get that cut down to size, or plane down to size. So we can't do it all in one pass. You have to take it by steps. Really important to remember. The minimum length for the planer is 12 inches, and this piece is 17.5. 12 inches is the minimum, so it has enough room for the front feed rollers to grab it, then cut it, and then the out feed rollers to grab it and pull it out, kind of like the joiner. Stand to the side of the planer. So when you're using the planer, stand to the side. You'll push your wood in. After it grabs it, you'll just come off to the side here, and then come to the other side and grab your piece of wood as it's coming out. Or you can stand on the other side too. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that we're not standing straight in front of the wood. I don't want you standing right here just in case the wood were to come out and get you. Okay? If the wood gets stuck for some reason in there, just call me over, turn off the machine, call me over, and we'll take care of it pretty quickly, okay? Number 9, keep fingers 4 inches away from this in-feed side, so about 4 inches out. We want to make sure and keep your fingers away from there so they don't get grabbed and pulled in. Use the helper to tail off for you. We've talked about that, okay? So using the planer, measure the thickness of the wood in several spots. I did that. Set the depth of cut 1/16 less than the thickest part of the wood. Do you remember what the thickest part of the wood was on this piece of wood? 1 inch and 5/16. If you answer that, you're correct. All right, there's 5/16. It's 0.3125. I know it's hard to read because of that piece of tape, but it's 0.3125. So this measures 1.3125. Well, we need to go a 1/16 less. So we need to set up the machine. Here it goes. 1/16 less is 1/4. So each of these squares is 1/16 less than the previous measurement. So if you started here with 1/2, 7/16, 3/8, 5/16, 1/4, 3/16, and so on. So let's set our machine up at 1.25. We'll have to program it in, so let's do that now. Do you remember the 4 steps to program a measurement in? Okay, the steps are program 1.25, return, then start. And there we go. We're ready to go. All right, we're going to turn the machine on, we're going to turn the dust collector on, and get this piece of wood fed in. You always want to turn the dust collector on when you use this machine. You want to make sure the vent's open. The vent has a thumb screw, and it's closed right now. Now it's open. Make sure the vent is open so it gets all that dust. If we did our job right, this should pull the wood through, get it cleaned up partially, maybe all of it, we'll see. And then we can go ahead and go to the outfeed side and just grab it. It should do all the work for us. So let me go ahead and turn it on. Take the piece of wood. I'm going to walk over to the side. I'm just grabbing it as it comes out. And you can see it started to clean it up, but it's not quite done. I have to raise up the table. I'm going to raise it up 1/16. Program 1.187. Return, start. I'm going to feed it in. Looking really good. I think I'll go one more time. Every time we got to go down a little bit more and a little bit more so we get the thickness we want, or we try to keep it as thick as possible for making cutting boards. Program 1.125, return, start. Let's go ahead and feed that in. Let's turn the machine off just by tapping it. And we have a beautiful piece of maple here. Both faces are now clean. There was our jointed edge. That jointed edge always goes down onto the table. J goes down. Your rough face goes up. That's what we want to clean. And you can even see we started getting some of that little stuff chip out. Later, after we join an edge, we'll cut that off with the table saw, so I'm not going to be worried about this. Don't freak out. This will be cut off later. Okay, there's a couple more things to talk about. Here's a feed rate, feet per minute, FPM. We keep it on the slowest one, but you can change the feed rate, but it depends on the type of wood you're using, if it's hard, really hard wood or soft. Depends on the width of the wood, okay? And it depends on the thickness of the cut you're making. But we just go ahead and keep it on 20, but that could be a test question. And then sometimes at the end of your cut, you get a small concave little cut at the end called a snipe. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see if you can pull that out here. But I have a small snipe in here. It's just the cutters at the very end just sniped out a little bit extra, and that's something we can sand out. This snipe here is right about in this area here, and you can usually feel it with your finger. It's really light. Just feel that light, nice and light here. I'll try to get different angles. Maybe we can see that. That's called a snipe. Okay. Other than that, it's a very easy machine to use. It's cleaned up both faces. This is step 3, plane to thickness. The thickness is all the same. All the way around this piece of wood is 1 1/8, all the way around.